The new CFP rankings, which was released yesterday, and turning a few heads maybe with the top four a little bit, Zach?
Yeah, I think the one shock that we had was number 4. We basically knew who the top team was going to be. We had a good idea who 2 and 3 were going to be. What I can't wait for, though, is until next year when we get to talk about my Gators here on this scene right here. Don't shake your head. Maybe Temple can get some love. I'm hopeful for next season, but we still have this season to go. The second iteration of the CFP poll, and it's crazy how much movement we've already seen this early in the year. I don't know why we're being so upset about me being optimistic.
It had nothing to do with the Gators this morning, but go ahead.
If I have a chance to talk about the Gators, I'm going to talk about the Gators because Georgia is the #1 team in the land. That doesn't make me too happy. They hold on to the top spot. Seems like they might be there for quite some time. No shock whatsoever that the defending national champs are clocking in with the #1 spot. The Dogs beat previous top-ranked Tennessee by 14 last weekend, but the margin felt much bigger than that. UGA has one more ranked game in the regular season before they get to the SEC championship game. Meanwhile, at number 2, for the second straight week, it's Ohio State. The Buckeyes able to get out of a rainy and windy day last weekend in Northwestern with a 14-point win. C.J. Stroud threw for only 76 yards, but hey, win and move on is all that matters for Ryan Day's squad at this point. More from the Big Ten. Michigan moves up 2 spots to claim 3rd in the rankings. Wolverines were down at the half to Rutgers last weekend. Second half, a completely different story. They scored 38 unanswered to comfortably win by 35. Michigan takes on Nebraska this week. The biggest question was who would get that 4th spot? It's TCU. They finally get some of that respect they've been looking for. Horned Frogs are a second-half team that's been able to make adjustments and stay undefeated. That much we know. Huge test for them this weekend, though. Number 18, Texas, is where they have to travel to. Here's the rest of the top 10. Tennessee drops 4 spots to number 5. They're the highest-ranked one-loss team. Oregon leads the way in a crowded Pac-12. Ducks coming in at 6. USC is 8 and not shown as UCLA at 12. The highest-ranked 2-loss team is LSU at 7. Alabama and Clemson, both fresh off losses, round out the top 10. And we welcome in our college football expert, Jerry Palm. Jerry, it feels like the biggest winner in this new poll is TCU. Horned Frogs helped by the losses of Tennessee and Alabama. Clemson for sure. But now they're right where they need to be, inside that top 4. Tough schedule ahead for them starting this weekend with Texas. What should we expect from Sonny Dykes' team moving forward?
Well, if they can get to 13-0, they're going to be pretty much where they are, maybe a little higher, and in the college football playoff. And obviously, they're 7-point underdogs at Texas this week. So, this is a tough game, and they're toughest so far. But still, nobody's beaten TCU yet. And it doesn't really matter that they're 4 this week. It's nice for them to get some respect. But where they are this week doesn't matter. They could be 7. They could be 9. Their path to the playoff would still be the same, get to 13-0. Now, 12-1, conference champion. They're going to get some discussion. It depends on who else is there. But 13-0 is what gets them into the playoff for sure. And that just means winning all the rest of those games in a pretty stacked Big 12.
Yeah, a team like Texas, they probably cannot afford to fall behind like they have in weeks past. Oregon has come a long way from their season-opening 49-3 loss to Georgia. Ducks lead the way in the Pac-12, ranked 6th and playing probably some of the best ball in the country. With what they have left on the schedule, could they be in a position to make the playoff?
They could. They get Washington and Utah at home. They have a very favorable schedule for winning the regular season in the Pac-12. The best teams on their schedule have all had to come to Oregon. They'll have to go to Oregon State at the end of the season, and that's a good team as well. But, they don't get USC in the regular season, so they would only see them in a championship game. Yes, 12-1 Oregon, conference champion in a good league this year. The Pac-12 is the best we've seen in 5 or 6 years. They're definitely going to be in play. They've got that 46-point loss to Georgia as an albatross over their head. Now, the committee is, let's just be perfectly clear. The committee is not going to say, we don't want to see that game again and keep them out because of that. However, if they're in a comparison situation for the 4th spot with a team like Tennessee, who has played Georgia as well and didn't get beat by even half as much as Oregon did, that comparison can come into play. But really, the fact that they lost, they're not going to keep Oregon out of the 4th spot. just because they lost to the number one team, and we don't want to see that game again. That's not the committee's job, and we don't know that we would see that game again anyway. But 12-1 Oregon, as a conference champion, definitely has a shot at a conference as a college football playoff team.
Yeah, Oregon looking a lot better than they did that week 1 against Georgia. Bo Nix putting himself right there in the Heisman contention. Jerry Palm, thank you very much for talking some college football with us. If you want even more college football action, make sure you check out the Cover 3 podcast. The crew does a deep dive into the latest CFP poll. One thing they're looking at is a 2-loss LSU team. Do they have a real shot at making the playoff? Check out the podcast wherever you subscribe and get your audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.